So when you take a look at this graphic and trying to keep the resolution for a section, um, this particular logo right here is on a number of separate pieces. It's in Illustrator, so just to try to clean up some of this area in order to grab this item. This section right here. So I'm just copying this and using Command Tab to come over to Photoshop. It's just been opened. So I just go to File, New, and the new document coming in is showing the recent pieces. I'm just going to go to Print, and Print has 8.5 by 11, 300 pixels per inch horizontal just to keep it as a flooring, and then just go to Command and paste this. When you paste this, you get 4 options. You get Smart Pixels, Smart Object Pixels, Path, and Shape Layer. Pixels just lets you work right away with the image. Gives you a bounding box that you can scale before you click OK. If you keep it large enough, then your resolution stays pretty crisp. And all you need to do is hit the return or the checkbox up here to show that image. And what this is that you're trying to create a the floor idea. So in Photoshop, I'll make this a little bigger just to show it to you. Just have the logo now, and everything that's on here now is pixelated. So if I were to zoom in, you can see the pixels right across the piece. Double click the hand tool, puts it back to the scale. And going in the 2 layers, if I click off of this, you can see that it just brought the logo in. Transparent layer behind it is the checkerboard. So I'm going to get a new layer and just click the gradient. We've done the gradient tool right before. It's set to foreground background. So I'm just going to come over to the orange, click a color that looks like a part that would be the floor, and then just click on the gradient and shift key across behind it so it gives me that coloring. At least I can adjust some of it for that piece. So we can go back into showing how to make that into the segment of the floor, but you want to break this up into a flooring system that looks like floorboards. So in this part, I have this image that just made this shape that looks like floorboards just out of a pattern, and made that shape to drag in and drop it into Illustrator. Easiest way to do it is to take the rectangle tool and just make a shape right here just to show it to you. I might make it a little bit bigger to place this. In fact, let me go into my layers panel, lock and hide that. Just get a new layer so we can do it from scratch on the surface there. So here it is. It already has the pattern drawn into it, so I'll just give it so it has a color to it. That's the shape. And all you're going to do is make a pattern out of this. It's very simple. I'm going to take the stroke off. I'm going to come back and just make it a solid black. Under the object where it says pattern, you'll see it listed. Just click on make, and a window shows up in an isolation mode. You can tell by up at the top. And down here it says you can't use anything until you acknowledge this. A new pattern is going to be added. It's right here. And just click OK. And what you see is you'll see this one shape. Here's the menu that tells you everything that's on there. And it's showing you the width of the object and the height in points, because I have the ruler set to points. And it gives you some modifications. It gets tricky. You just got to search around and click and see what happens. But new pattern 2, you can say flooring, which is good. The grid you can reset, but it gives you some presets, hexagon, brick by brick, row by row. So I'm just going to do the brick by brick. You can't tell anything because the original part of the pattern called a motif, M-O-T-I-F, is right there. And if I do the width and just indicate a little bit, 1 pixel, 1 pixel, you can hopefully see the pattern. Here it is. It's offset right down the middle. And if I indicate a couple more, you can see it a little bit more. But I'm going to try it at 1 pixel because I'm trying to just get the creases into that section. And here it is, cancel, done, save as a copy. So I come back out. I think I saved it, maybe I didn't. So now I have this pattern right here. So what I want to do is transfer this. You can make a pattern in Photoshop. Illustrator gives you a little more flexibility to do so. It's 8.5 by 11. This page is 8.5 by 11. Here's the initial motif. Put it offside the artboard. Just stretch this out to here and copy it so it's on the pasteboard. Command Tab over to Photoshop. I'm going to create a new layer. If I paste it as pixels, it'll come right in, and there's the flooring for this piece. I'm just going to keep it. Go ahead and click OK, and click off of it. So now I have, it gave me a layer. I forgot to give you a section layer. So I have this piece and the flooring in the background. Don't necessarily need the background, but if it gets caught in the shuffle, doesn't matter. I click on these two items, and I'm just going to duplicate them. So I have a copy of them. And while they're still selected, just go in the sub-menu and just go to Command Merge Layers. So now this is one layer. I'm going to drag this below, going to trash this one. So now I have this flooring on top of it. Now if I Option and Shift, you'll see it'll inverse this piece. If I click in the stacking order and change this, it'll show it. So now I have the logo with the flooring of the brown color on top. Look at it, on top of the image right there. So that gives you this simulation of the flooring. Below this, I'm just going to make another layer, and just Option Delete will fill it black, and now I can see the flooring of that image. So that gives you a little bit of a section, and the reason that you Command Merge these layers is because you can manipulate them together as a group, but you always want to duplicate your images, so in case you want to go back, you have a copy of it. Otherwise, you're stuck. So that's why I have, if I hide this, I have this top piece, this part, the flooring, but I still have the original logo, and I still have a background to it. So if I ever need to redo something or I don't like the results, I can always go back to this. And double-click the bottom layer to deselect it from being a locked layer. These pieces are colored. I'll give them a color just so you can see it. And I'll go into this menu and New Group from Layers, and this is just going to type Logo. So now I have this stashed in there if I need it, and these are all the parts and pieces for this segment. So by the same idea, here's the two layers. I'm going to just drag and copy them again, hide these two. Seems redundant, but it's just so if something goes wrong, I still have it. Here I'm just flattening them. It's against the background. Now I'm just going to go to Edit and Transform, Free Transform, and this will allow me to squish this down a bit. In fact, let me escape all that and go ahead and change this to back to white. No, let's keep it dark. I forgot that part. And if I undo, it lets me do one undo and step backwards. You got to hit the Command Option Z to get backwards that way. So see if I can do that. So here's the background. Here's this piece. I'm going to move this background up here and Shift key these two and merge them together. So now if I have this, it's a transparent background. And now I just want to drag this way to the bottom and give myself a white piece of paper in the background, so to speak. So there's the paper. Thinking of it that way. Then Free Transform, Edit Free Transform. And now I can drop this down. Just changing this part. Command minus to zoom out. And you can do the Edit and Transform and use Perspective, or you can just use the keystrokes. Command Option Shift in combinations. This is just the Command key distorts it. Command Option will skew it, and all three of them allows you to do the perspective. So I'm trying to make it look as if it's on the floor in perspective, and there's that image. I'm going to click another layer, use the Marquee tool to draw this part, the Gradient tool, just to give you a selection just as a background. So I was trying to make the flooring that'll come across, and you could actually make some gradients. You can gradiate the floor, and you can also create it so it looks like there's lights coming down, all that type of stuff. So it's just trying to give you some basic introduction into Photoshop as we start going through that. Could put the stands, that type of thing. So see if you can take your logo from Illustrator. Here's the final part in Photoshop, Final 4 and the final. And here's the Illustrator back to this part. This is just on a layer that has the graphic part that I modified into just mimicking the school, copying that over, making the layer out of a pattern. And Command Tab lets you click once and get through all your items with the mouse, or if you keep kicking the tab, it goes left to right. Shift Tab goes right to left, so you don't have to keep hiding the programs, just click and take a look at it. And that's what you have right there. Final 4 right there. Okay.